Miss Riley and I, the social worker over at Beckham, when we first had started doing a club and having a classroom, um, we really didn't know what to expect. So the main thing was building a safe place for students to come into and to talk about different areas of their life that may be impacted by substance use. So, and when we started that, the interesting thing that started coming out was that it wasn't young adults. I mean, there were some young adults that had some substance struggles that were coming in there and asking questions. Um, what we started to find was that there were a lot of students that had their family members struggling with substances. So it turned into families and individuals. So sometimes we'll have, it's not really formed into a structured support group as of right now. It's more just dialogue over a game of cards, or we may read some Al Anon readings, some Alateen readings, or some daily reflections out of some 12-step modeled literature that we have that we'll bring in with us every week. And then we can kind of discuss that. So it just depends on what the population is that comes in there. But the interesting part that Miss Riley and I found was that there was a lot more students than we initially had thought that were willing to come in and talk about relatives of theirs that were struggling. So that's been a really cool process throughout this whole time of starting it at the end of last year. Miss Riley has a good rapport with students, so I was fortunate that she had that dynamic already kind of in place with a lot of students before I even came over and started sitting in weekly. There were a handful of students I knew through the community, or some of their older brothers or sisters that I had met over the years. So yeah, that was huge with Miss Riley and a handful of the students that I knew that would stop by and kind of check in. And really, what we try to focus on is coming from a neutral place, that it can be a safe area, that you can talk about certain things, and that we can try to plug you into resources that could only benefit you throughout the process. And sometimes it doesn't mean I'm sitting there and forcing referrals down students' throats. It's we're just having dialogue. I just ask them general questions about what they have going on, what's being presented at the time, and what they're willing to do to try to make things different. Yeah, yeah, plant the seed and hopefully it grows into something, which it's grown with a few students. So hopefully we get it into like a structured support group eventually. But right now we have a good thing going to where we can have some good conversations going on with over a game of cards, or just reading some basic text out of 12-step meetings, or anything that's really wellness related.